This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Patty Thuell with IG Wealth Management. Patty, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The audience doesn't know that we do a little bit of work together, but that relationship is still very much new. So I'm basically going into this. We have some wealth management clients, but pretty much as green as you can get, which is great because the questions I ask the audience will probably have similar questions. So let's get right into it. What is it that you do, Patty?
Well, everybody's going to see IG Wealth Management and they're going to think wealth management. Yes, that's what I do. But there's a lot more to it than just investing money. My goal is to sit down with my clients and find out what they basically want in life. Are they saving for a house? Are they saving for their children's education? Are they saving for retirement? Everybody thinks retirement is a long way off. It comes upon us a lot quicker than we think. And we need to start thinking about it young. So that's really what I do. It's not about the funds. There's a lot of people out there that can take care of that for you. I want to know my clients and help them reach their goals.
Wonderful. And how long have you been doing this for, Patty?
Believe it or not, I've only been doing this for 5 years. I've been licensed for 5 years. I was a career changer. I was in IT consulting for about 25 years.
That's a bit of a pivot.
I woke up one day and didn't like my job anymore.
Yep.
So I parted ways with IT. I took a little bit of time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I wanted to take what was the best part of my job in IT and bring it forward into my next career. That was dealing with clients and helping them reach their career goals on a professional level. So I wanted to be able to still get that connection with my clients, but instead of worrying about their professional lives, worrying about their personal lives.
Yeah, it really is something. I mean, entrepreneurship, I think some of us look at it as, I don't think any of the reasons are really wrong, but I think there's deeper and more surface level reasons. I want to make more money, so I'll be my own boss. Sure, no problem with that. Or I want to have agency over my own life rather than building a vision for somebody else. Sure, no problem as well. But it seems like there are a handful of us that really use entrepreneurship as the avenue through which we impact the world, find out what we're capable of, and help at a greater scale. And it sounds like that's the case with you. It's not just about the money. It's much more about what do you want, where do you want to go, and how can I help you get there, which is, I just think, a wonderful mindset to have out in the world. How can I provide the most value to people? I love this line from, I think it was Zig Ziglar, if I'm getting it right. He says, you can have whatever you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want in life. And it seems like a lot of our entrepreneurs that come on the show, that really is their thing. Number one, I think it's a phenomenal business strategy. I think if you actually just want to become successful, if you focus your mind on helping on other people, you will become successful, but it's so much more fulfilling. And I can hear that in your voice when you talk about it, that connection to other people and empowering them with tools and information to get to where they want to go is no small feat. It's a real thing. And I love that that's your reasoning behind it.
Well, and I'm not going to lie, it was scary. Try going back to school after being out of school for 30 plus years and having to relearn how to study to get the certifications that we need for these things, plus starting the business. Yeah.
We're going to get into some hard things in a few questions. So I'll put a pin in that for now, but I'm very curious. Learning how to learn, like you just said, learning how to study. It is a skill in itself. So before we get into that, there's a few fundamental questions that we really like to ask on the show. This is so much more than learning about a business and service. This really is more about learning about our local people. What do they stand for? What do they do? What's their impact on our community? Why are they living the way they're living, right? There's some great stories behind that. So we like to ask our guests. You touched on it a little bit, but if we could peel back a few more layers of the onion and find out Why did you do this? You were in IT for so long. What brought you to saying to yourself, I don't like my business, to the point of completely doing a career change and opening up my own business, going back to school and taking these? That's a huge amount of effort based on very certain decisions, I would say, to make that kind of a change. What led you to that moment, Patty?
Mine was really, it came down to, once I found out about what being a financial consultant is about, and that we do care about our clients, IG's great for that. I was able to focus on somebody that's like me. I was on my own until I was 49, a few relationships in there, but I struggled to buy my own house, pay all my own bills. And there's so many people, and I'm thinking primarily women, that sometimes things don't go always as planned. Mm-hmm. And you have to reset, and you have to know that the light at the end of the tunnel is not going to be the oncoming train. It's actually something that you want to work forward to. And that's why I decided to do what I do, so that people know that there is somebody that's gone through this. I'm not just talking from a book. I do this because I've lived through a lot of the things that people are living through, and I want to make sure that they know that they're going to be okay.
Man, I will never get sick of that common thread. So many guests on. I was just talking about this an hour ago in our show before this, that many of our entrepreneurs recognize that they had an obstacle in their own life, and they sought out mentors, information, schooling, something to help them get through that obstacle, to help them navigate through this new chapter of their life. And then they did. They got through it. And through that, they've learned these new skills, which are great, but they've also found that they've enriched their lives through these new skills. So now it's like, I have answered my own complications, challenges with these new skills. Can I now take these new skills and benefit the lives of others? It's such a common thread. For me, I started in fitness. Fitness is the foundation to my life. It is, everything comes after my health. If I am not healthy, mentally, physically, then you're going to get the raw side of me. My family and friends are going to get the edgier version of me, and it's going to impact everything. So fitness is the foundation for me. I've been doing it for 20 years. Coach, personal trainer, taught hockey teams, gymnasts, bodybuilders, all that kind of stuff. But when I was running my own gym, I didn't know anything about scaling a business. I didn't know anything about marketing. I just thought, I now have the money to open a gym, get clients, and train them. That was it. It's like, that was the end of my business plan. And, I was working day and night as a personal trainer. You have to be there physically with them. So any working on the business comes after or before you train. So that took up my whole life. And I talk about mentorship a lot in this, on the show, and just in life in general. I believe that behind every excellent person, there's an excellent teacher. And I happened to butt up against some really good mentors. And one of them, she taught me about scaling a business, about marketing, about no one knowing about me when I had this gym outside of my current clients. And she said, you can't rely on your current clients to go out there and grow your business for you. So start in the newspaper, start in Yellow Pages, start in Facebook was just a thing, just starting back then, 15, 17 years ago. And so I learned how to go from me to 8 other trainers and to admin team, and then eventually sell that business, which I never thought would happen for me. So through that I am a slave to my work. She asked me, do you own your business or does your business own you? And I said, how do I know? She said, can you go away for a month and not only maintain your business, but have it grow? I said, no, it would fail. It would be done by the time I come back, because nobody would be trained without me being there. And then she taught me that you became an entrepreneur to have agency over your own life. Meanwhile, you've pigeonholed yourself into this to the point where every minute you're not there, your business is suffering. So that's where I learned how to scale and market and brand and all of these things, which that was so fulfilling to me, because it was so rewarding to have that information, to do it for my own business. Now led me to helping other businesses do it. It is a common thread I will never get bored of. people answering their own complications and then taking those skills and helping other people with it. So I love that that is your story too. It is so many of our entrepreneurs' story, answering our own challenges in life and then using those skills to help other people. I think it's fantastic.
And it sounds very cliched, but it's very true. You have to not worry so much about making a living. You have to make sure you're making a life.
There's no question about it.
That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to make sure that I do have the opportunity to enjoy taking some time and not at the end of life realize that I coulda, woulda, shoulda type of a life. That's not something I'm looking for.
Yeah,
it's not what I want my clients to have.
Yeah, I agree with it so much. There's this, it's challenging. Building a business is difficult. Building a rock solid foundation for your health or love life or wealth, they're all difficult things. And I believe they're all built on deferred gratification, doing things that we have to do now to reap the benefits later. But I do think that can be overused, or for lack of a better word, abused in some sense, that we keep pushing out this rewarding life until you're like 70 all of a sudden. And now it's time to play. I don't think it needs to be that way. I think this combination of being in the moment and enjoying your life now and the fruits of your labor now, while still doing the necessary things to build up a good future for yourself. I think they can be done both at the same time, depending on where you are in life. That balance may be shifting, but I think there's at least two groups of people that want it now, instant gratification. I don't know much that will benefit you from constantly looking for instant gratification. Nothing in my life has been like, that was a great decision to want things right now. So most of my life is based on deferred gratification, but I don't want to push out enjoying my life for 30 years. So I love that is your goal, is to help people get to where they want to go and make the right decisions.
Can I share a personal note on that one?
Absolutely. I love it. Please.
So I was going to get into this a little bit later. You had said we were going to talk about a few other more personal things, but having recently lost my mom, my dad at 86 now, they never regretted anything in their life. They did lots of things, but he has said to me numerous times that they both worked very, very hard. And now she's not there to help reap to share in the rewards of that. And that really kind of hit home that the days are limited. So make sure that what you are doing, you are working towards being able to enjoy every moment that you can.
It's a difficult thing in life, isn't it? That balance that we all talk about. I don't really like the word balance at this point in my life anymore, because balance to me means if I'm spending 40 hours on my business, I'm spending 40 hours on my friends, 40 hours on health. They're all equally balanced. I look for harmony. You know, a business may need 60 hours a week, but my friends don't. If I see them a couple hours a week, that's still a very enriching experience with them. Or love life, or my financial portfolio doesn't need 60 hours a week. So I'm looking for that harmony. I'll let you know when I figured it out, because I have not yet. But
please do.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's ever changing. But as long as it's the intention to people, we have these major categories in life: health, friendship, wealth, business, purpose. If those things are constantly on your mind, I feel like they will be addressed. And sometimes I leave it till too late, but I think we learn from those experiences. And it's a great lesson though. What you shared with us is, don't push it out so far that now you don't have your, partner to enjoy the fruits of your labor with. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Myths and misconceptions. So a big part of the show, as although there's a heavy emotional side to it, so we can connect with others, there is a logical side of it. And that's where the information comes in. If we can provide enriching information to people that help them make better decisions, that can impact the life considerably. So the world of money is a complicated world if you don't know it. It seems like once you get in there, it's not easy, but it's more simple than it's made out to be, at least from my experience. Some pretty simple decisions have made drastic differences in my life once I knew them. Before I knew them, it was so confusing. It was like speaking a different language. So there are people out there right now that have no money in their bank account or don't have a savings plan or aren't building for the future. And maybe they have the information in their head. I'm only making $30,000 a month. A good portion of this audience is affluent. So maybe not some of them, or maybe their kids. I'm not ready to speak to Patty in this way, or I need to get to these stages to speak to Patty or a financial advisor or wealth management. Can we clarify some of those myths and misconceptions for people out there so that they can take action sooner and start changing their lives sooner?
It's something that I talk to my clients about all the time. One, it's never too late to start saving. Two, it's never too early to start saving, except that you do have to be over 18 in order to put into some special accounts that the government allows for registered accounts. You're right. A lot of people don't have a lot of money, but you figure if you could find $25 a week, that's $100 a month. That's maybe not going out for dinner one night, or not going to Starbucks, only going to Starbucks 3 days a week instead of 2 days, or instead of 5 days a week. Something as small as that, and starting to save that money, that's huge to start with. You don't have to have a lot of money to speak to a lot of consultants. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to say to a person that you're talking to that, thank you very much for your help, but I don't think we're a good fit. You need to be a really good fit with your advisor. I can't stress that enough, because there can't be any secrets between you. If you want to have them help you build towards your goals, you have to be open and honest. And I try and be open and honest with my clients. So the misconceptions are that you have to have a lot of money, that it's too late to start, or it's too early to start.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear you clarify that for us. One of the things that I went through is I grew up my mother was a financial advisor for TD for many years, for many, many, many decades. So she gave me some basic skills when I was young about credit cards, about saving, about my debit card, about getting these things built up when I was young, start building credit and things like that. But when I was in my, probably 26, 27, after I got out of the fitness world and sold that gym, I went into HVAC, and we started a business. And I thought, because I did it once, I was super confident. I had 2 partners in my fitness journey. I did not. I had mentors who helped me, but I really thought, okay, I've done it once. I can now do it again. I don't need to learn anything else. And that was not a great experience for the next 5 years. And we made some bad financial decisions. And I remember from myself that I went from, it wasn't like I was super wealthy or anything during that financial or fitness journey, but I built up a bit of wealth, but my bills were paid and taxes were taken care of. And I made the necessary steps to have a clean portfolio and building up some credit. During the HVAC time, we made some bad decisions. We owed some money. And then there's this embarrassment that came, this judgment that I thought people would have. And it took me 2 years to finally go and seek out help, to be like, okay, I cannot get any further on my own. This obstacle that I put in front of myself of being embarrassed, I was here. They can see my financial history. And now I've gone downwards, which somehow means like I'm less than. I'm bad for doing this. So it took me 2 years to address that and be like, this is my own projection onto the world of what I think they will think of me. And all it is doing is negatively impacting my life. It's not making any difference to them. So what would you say to the person that has had a downturn in their life and maybe is a little ashamed of where they've allowed themselves to go about seeking out help?
They're not alone. What you're going through, if I haven't gone through it, somebody else has gone through it that we can talk to about it. If I don't have answers, I can get answers for you. Don't think that you're the only person that's ever gone through a change in financial circumstances, but don't let it last too long. Ask the questions.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to. Don't let your ego get in the way.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? So are we bad people for making good financial decisions based on good habits for a series of time and then becoming more risky and making bad financial decisions? Does that say something about our identity? Does that mean we are bad people for allowing our financial situations to get a little chaotic?
No. When you first started making good money, you probably indulged in a few things. I know when I first had a really good paycheck, or this is further into my career, but I loved shoes. I loved shopping. I loved doing those things.
Yeah.
Well, what you have to realize, and this is where the ego has to go away, is if there is a change in your financial circumstances, you can still do some of that. You just maybe can't do it as much. And you need to be able to get the right advice from people as to, okay, great, but we're still working towards retirement. We're still working towards you buying that house or buying that new car. Don't be afraid to change what your habit is, or not change it, but scale it down a little bit, because those other days are probably still going to come back to you.
Yeah.
Might look a little different, but they're still there.
Yeah. Yeah. I needed that kind of gut punch because those were difficult years. And I'm 37 now. So that was the late 20s, 26 to 29, 30.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to go through that because things were going so well that I didn't really look at receipts anymore, bought what I wanted to buy. I didn't have kids or I wasn't married, so my expenses weren't all that bad. But you just eventually get used to this new baseline of life, and then things took a dip. But that's what I needed to recognize, to value the dollar more, appreciate my habits more, and honestly, Patty, what it really made me recognize was how much material things didn't mean that much to me, and how much they were impacting my life. So I'm really appreciate you clarifying that for us, because I think some of us are in that space. We build our identity on our stuff. And then what happened to me, you eventually run headfirst into a wall and realize none of this stuff is really that important. Experiences are, people are, learning is. And sometimes some of us need to get a gut punch to recognize that, like myself. But hopefully by providing this information, it can allow some people to avoid that concrete wall they run into.
Yep. Been there, done that one.
So outside of business, we want to know about Patty. A lot of our entrepreneurs, when I ask this question, what do you get up to for fun? They're like, well, our business is super fun. That is the most common answer. And I say, come on, guys, we have to be more fun than this. I get that business is fun. And what a privilege it is to enjoy your work. I would say the vast majority of people do not enjoy their work, look forward to it every day, which is a tragedy. But for many of our entrepreneurs, they do. But there are things outside of work that I hope we're getting up to for fun. So when you're not helping people build their wealth, build their future financially, what is it you get up to that puts a smile on your face, Patty?
Well,
outside of shoes, of course.
Outside of shoes and shopping. It depends on the season. In the cooler months, well, I always enjoy cooking and I always enjoy baking, but I do a lot more of that during the cooler months. Cupcakes, bread, cakes. My stepkids love when they come up because there's always something chocolate for them to have. Now that we're moving into the nicer weather, I really enjoy gardening. And it's also a great stress reliever because there's nothing like if you're having a bad day going out and pulling weeds. I know that sounds really funny, but you can just substitute whatever you want for the weed and you're destroying it. So it helps get rid of some of that stress.
Sure.
But that's what I'm going to be focusing on now. I've got, I think right now, about 110 annual flowers that I'm going to be putting in the ground May long weekend. So yeah.
Wonderful. What is it, if you could tell us quickly, what is it about baking and gardening that you enjoy? Because for some people, that's a labor. For me, I do not like cooking. It is a labor. I have my ideas of why other people do, but it is a labor for me. Whereas gardening, cutting my grass and stuff like that isn't. So what do you get out of it?
For me, baking is very much for family. Family is very important to me. So knowing that as I said, my stepkids love coming up because they get chocolate. And they're not kids anymore. They're young men, but they still love coming up and having whatever is being baked. They put in their requests. So it's connecting with family and doing things like that. There's nothing like walking into the house and smelling fresh baked bread. That smell is just home to me. The gardening, my mom actually taught me how to garden. And a lot of the flowers I have in my garden are from her garden. So this year it's going to be reconnecting with her to maintain my garden and make it as she used to win awards for her flowers and stuff. So for me, it's keeping contact with my mom.
I love that. Oh man, family and keeping our past ones alive in our current practices. I think it's a fantastic thing. Thank you for that. That was great. Now, pivoting a little bit, we talk about hard things on this show, specifically. I mean, a lot of the things we do in life, building your wealth can be difficult. Entrepreneurship can be difficult, but specifically our hardships. Being a human being is difficult sometimes, certainly. But I think it's through those difficult experiences that we are now granted the opportunity, if we choose to look at it that way, to grow and become more. Like my situation through HVAC, and there's many other things in my life. I'm an addictions counselor on the weekend at a great place called Cornerstone Recovery. It's my little fulfillment piece for giving back to the community. And that's because addiction was in my own life and my family's life. It was in my sphere. I saw a lot of it, very challenging situations, but led to now my way of giving back to the community, helping other people. So I think human beings won't just grow and flourish if they're in an easy environment all the time. I think we do need to be stressed to a certain point. Stress can be all kinds of things. But if you look at the muscle, it needs to be physically stressed to grow and get stronger. I think our body, our mind, even arguably our soul in some ways, if you believe in that, grows through some sorts of discomfort and challenge. So we like to highlight it on the show because I still believe there is that stigma out there. If you share your hardships, your challenges, you should be ashamed of it. You should be embarrassed. It's a failure. Don't share it with people. Worry about other people's judgment and ridicule. I think that trend is going away. I think our awareness for sharing our real life experiences as close to reality as possible is becoming more potent. And I think vulnerability is changing from a weakness to a strength. And we want to be part of that. So we like to ask the guests on the show to be a beacon for our audience. Are there any trials and tribulations, hardships that you went through that you're comfortable with sharing that probably sucked in the moment, as hard things have a certain feeling? And typically people wouldn't say, I like the way that hard thing felt. It typically has a potent feeling to it. So probably sucked in the moment. But when you look back in hindsight, you wouldn't remove that ingredient from the recipe or the soup that makes up patty because it's led to enriching your life in some way. Anything come to mind?
Where to start? Regrets. I don't think people who say that they live a life without regrets. I have regrets in my life, and they did make me stronger. They were regrets with certain relationships that I allowed certain things to happen that I realized that afterwards they were bad for me, and I survived and thrived and came out way better from them, knowing that I was capable of doing things on my own. I didn't need to have somebody in my life. I wanted to have somebody in my life, but I didn't need them. They were just a wonderful addition. Those are probably the big regrets in the past, are more around relationships, staying in them too long because that's what you thought you should do. When I'm a little bit older than you, so I have a few more years of regrets in there. The big one right now, honestly, is the loss of my mom, because now everybody I have found feels sympathy for people when they lose a loved one. Mm-hmm. And there are the words that everybody knows to say, but once you go through it, you have that empathy. And as an advisor, that I am with people, helping them settle estates for their loved ones, now I know what that really does feel like. And it always comes at a really bad time. Grief is not something that you can put off. And there's things that come along with that that make it even harder sometimes to deal with. And again, knowing that you're going to be okay through it. I'm still grieving, but I know that my family's going to be okay. And it is a part of life. It sucks majorly. But knowing that you're going to go on, that's okay too.
Yeah. We have an incredible survival mechanism, don't we? But some people choose to let their hardships devalue their lives, and they get worse with each stumbling. Whereas there's another group of us that get better or more effective, or they change their perspective on what they thought their needs and wants were before to something bigger than themselves afterwards is something we find common. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Those experiences are not easy, certainly for myself through my own relationships in the past. I hope I've been able to bring up my value in some way, but even just empathy on its own. When you've been exposed to something that you've not been exposed to before, maybe a death or something like that. Now that's shared. I hate to use the word suffering because people don't really like that, but it's really what it is. That shared suffering can bring people together, like in the military, or the firefighter, police, addiction, cancer, whatever it is. When you have that, there is a more effective bridge for connection now, because you can actually say you've experienced it rather than just theorize about it. I can understand what you're saying, but it's very different from I've been through it. And I'm really glad you pointed that out, because if nothing else, if we didn't get any other benefit than just that, I think that's enough on its own. And to know, like you said, that you'll be okay. You'll come out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate you.
It's not going to be easy, but yeah, everybody does.
And you know what, Patty, for me personally, the mentors that I follow, there's great people in my life that some of them know me, some of them don't know me, some of them have been dead for thousands of years. But it seems like the best lives are the most hardest earned. They weren't just given them. They weren't easy. So I think there's an argument to be said that you don't want an overly easy life. But I appreciate you sharing that with us. Back to business.
Yep.
If you could refine and distill all the great information you have into one thing that you wanted the audience to know, what would that be? One thing you want the audience to know about your business, Patty?
It's never too early to start.
I love it. Straight to the point. Never too early to start, people. Get to it. Get to it. Okay. My favorite question. I leave this out of the questionnaire for a reason, because I'm afraid people are going to script it, and I find off the cuff is much more authentic. So I only talk about a few things on the show, or a few things in my life, really. If you know me well, you know there's 4 or 5 things that I talk about, and that's about it. Purpose is one of them. Certainly health, mentorship, entrepreneurship, and impact. Those are the main 5 things that I really go on about. So this question is about impact. I told you about the mentors that I was very lucky to have in an early age. She's still in my life, a wonderful, wonderful woman. And in my early 20s, in that fitness journey, she started to encourage me to think about my impact. She said, reflect on your impact up to this moment. How have you lived your life? Is it something you're proud of, etc.? Be very intentional about your impact today, because you may not get tomorrow, right? Tomorrow and time is out of my hands. All I can do is control how I use my time to a certain degree. Even some of that is out of my control, but I certainly can't say I will be here tomorrow and guarantee it. And then for however long you are here, what do you want your life to look like in regards to impact? So essentially, I'm born, I die. What impact do I have on this planet? She encouraged me to think about that a great deal. And I still think about it this day. It's a major driving force for my life. So we like to ask the guests on the show, Patty, what would you like your impact to be?
Wow. Someone who cared. There are so many things that you can do in your life, and so many causes you can get behind, and be very, I want to be very intentional on causes that I support and the reasons behind them. And I want to be known as a good friend, that's somebody that people could count on, be it through personal or professional, that if there was something that was ever needed, that they knew who they could come to just to lend an ear. That's me, is more important than how much money I have at the end of life, what my assets are, what kind of house I live in, what kind of car I drive. Just really, have I been a nice person? And it may sound very simple, but that's how I want to be remembered, is that she cared.
Awesome. And it is your life to live, so it is your decision. But I have to tell you, I don't know if we can impact the world in a better way. Like some people think, well, Musk is doing electric cars and taking us to Mars and saving, ending cancer and all that. Like those are big, big ideas. Sure. And if you want to go for that, go for that. But for the people that don't think that way, just being a good human, I think will have a massive ripple effect, especially over the years. So I heard, be a kind person, be a good friend, make sure. I want to be remembered as someone who cares. I love it. Yeah. Patty, it's great. How can people find out about you? They want to connect. What's the best way?
Best way is you can send me an email, patricia.thuell@ig.ca. Or you can call the office, and that's 705-7193. I don't use it very often. 6773. And they can be connected to me that way.
Wonderful. Patty, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for allowing us to peel back the curtains and see into your life, get an idea who you are, what you stand for. I think you stand for great things, and a very interesting story. Plus, you can help us with our money, which is a very important thing. So I can try. I'm sure you can. I'm looking forward to learning much more. So it's a great pleasure having you on the show, Patty.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.